Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this April 16th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, we're glad that you are here with us. If you want to find our content, go to EOA.network. That takes you to a link tree where you can find the location of all of the places where our content is distributed and archived. So then the stuff that is live, like this program, and then later on where it ends up after the fact, so you can watch it on your own schedule. Glad that you're here with us. Here in a little bit, we are going to have LeGrand Public Works Director Kyle Carpenter is going to be with us. So, how are you, man?
Good morning.
Doing all right?
First Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing all right weather-wise.
It snowed.
I'm very aware of that. I was out there when it started doing that crap.
Yeah.
I'm not, we knew it was coming. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a surprise, but it's still just like, can we just have 1 year where we just go straight, like to spring, like not a couple 75-degree days and then back to freezing again?
Yeah, this has just been the oddest spring ever.
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the roller. It's like, girls' emotions. I'm not a fan of the roller coaster. Like, I just want it to be right here.
Hey, you're there all on your own, dude. Yeah, even if I agree with you. Okay, well, you say like a teenage girl. How's that?
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
like my daughter.
It's one day it's good, the other day whatever.
Yeah. You never know.
Has happened. It's the world is ending, right?
Yeah. That's why I say boys are easier to raise for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, is there good things about both and bad things? Of course, but boys are just so, like, at least my son, he's just even keeled. Like, you don't.
Yeah, so I had two daughters and then a boy, and I guess my fear always with having a boy is that, oh crap, he's going to pick up my bad habits too, whatever that is. I got to teach him. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a lot of pressure. I mean, with girls and dads, it's a little simpler because you're loving on them and taking care of them and coaxing them in the right direction. But
I don't know if it's simpler.
well, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It depends on what simple is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Flex Steel Statements blends modern comfort with lasting craftsmanship for a look that feels personal, elevated, and built to last. Shop the collection at Northwest Furniture and Mattress in LeGrand. Big red rocking chair, on Elm, off Adams. You can't miss it. LHS softball is at Baker today for a doubleheader starting at 2. This could get moved to LeGrand due to the weather. I mean, I should be finding out any time. I'm waiting on a text message. They're supposed to make the decision this morning, so if it happens during the show, I'll let you guys know if the game's going to be here or over there. LHS baseball is in Baker tomorrow for a 2 p.m. doubleheader, both JV and varsity. The JV2 team played on Tuesday night versus Baker. They lost the first game, and they don't post JV2 game scores, and I didn't stay all the way for the end of the second game, but LeGrand was leading when I left, but it was freezing outside. My hands were literally just done for, so I left in like the 5th inning, I think it was. It felt like the middle of winter out there. It was ridiculous. The wind was blowing. Now, if the wind wasn't blowing, it would have been okay, but with the wind blowing, it was like, got to get out of here. LHS tennis hosts Ontario today at 3 at home, while boys golf is off until next Friday when they host Vail. The girls golf team goes to Baker next Monday, and then they host Vail on Tuesday. EOU softball moved down another spot to number 5 in the national poll. They head to Corbin this weekend for a huge 4-game series. I mean, they need to win all 3 of the conference games this weekend. So, we've talked about this before. The first 3 games of the series are conference games. The last one's a non-con. They really need to win all 4 for national reasons, but for conference reasons, they need to win the first 3 for sure, because the following weekend they host number 1 in the country, OIT, right here, and that's going to be probably for the league championship. I mean, if EOU, I think they're 2 games back, so if they can get all 3 games against OIT, they'll win the CCC and host that tournament, which would be huge for the Bounties. They haven't hosted it in my recollection ever. So, you know, you got a team that finished number 3 in the country last year that's been number 1 this year, anywhere from 1 to 5, and they have a chance to host their first conference tournament this year if they. And they can beat OIT. I mean, it's not they beat them 2 out of 3 last year. They beat them in the conference tournament. They can beat this OIT team. They just have to hit. EOU baseball's at College of Idaho this weekend for a 4-game series, and then finally EOU track and field is at the CCC Multis in Ashland. So that means like the athletes that do the heptathlon and the pentathlon are, and the not the heptathlon, the pentathlon and the decathlon. The heptathlon is an indoor sport, and that means 5 events. Girls do 7 events in the spring, and boys do 10, or women and men at the college level. And EOU's got some really good multis, so we should bring home a couple of conference championships there. AM Sports Report brought to you by the Northwest Furniture and Mattress in LeGrand. Sleep like a log.
Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a look outside at the weather, and yeah, it's frosty, and before I left the house, you could see little flakes of snow occasionally. It's just kind of crazy today. Well, I think you can see flakes of snow there now when that camera stops.
And they're talking about moving the softball games over here.
Yeah. You can't see Mount Emily storm. The storm looks like it's coming in over there. Anyhow, yeah, here we are. So 47 is the high, 29 tonight. So it's going to be below freezing again. And then it looks like it starts to warm up. Sunday, we're back near 70, looks like. But still, even in the evenings, it's still very cool.
The biggest number that I see on there is all those zeros of precipitation. That's what I care about. 0, 0, 0 Friday, 0 Saturday.
Yeah, so it's going to be just cold and dry the next few days, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say 56 degrees is cold.
I guess it's improving.
Yeah.
It's more of the California wimpy weather that you like.
Well, whatever you want to call it. I like doing things outside.
No, I know. I'm just razzing you. So hey, let me make you aware of a couple of things. So yesterday I went and recorded the county commissioners candidates. There's 4 of them, as you can see there, and 3 of them are running for. 3 of them are running for 1 seat, and 2 of them are running for another. And I'm going to be releasing that recording here probably beginning of next week, so that you all can. I mean, it was fairly organic, and the Grange, the Pleasant Grove Grange, put that together out in Somerville, and it was a good event. Anyhow, it's an opportunity for you to kind of hear the candidates in their own voices. So I'll be releasing that. We'll be releasing that next week. If you, it's going to have a lot of viewership because at this point I don't know of any organized forums other than this. And so if you want to sponsor that show, be sure and let me know. We're looking for advertisers to help pay for the expenses that we have in capturing that event. And then also, I want to tell you about a new show that I started called Brent's Table. And in that, I'm having longer, more personal conversations, letting my own opinion, throwing it out there on whatever the case might be. And I just recently did the first one with Steve Clements, who is the past mayor of LeGrand. And Steve's a good friend, and we don't see things the same politically, and so it's just a great opportunity to have a conversation. And here's a little bit, a preview of that. Take a look at this.
It's difficult for me to like the personality of Donald Trump as portrayed in the media.
I would like someone who at least knows how to articulate an issue a little more effectively without being tactless.
Right, and I don't disagree, but certainly somebody on the right's going to say, well, you do remember our last president?
Well, I do, and
Right.
it's
No.
unfortunate.
Right. I mean, you could say the same thing about his last few years of...
It was just a travesty.
It was, yeah, and that's not the... And what is funny is that we are being fed different feeds.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, and so for me, if I hear something outrageous, whatever it might be, the Democrats are doing this.
Right.
It's like there's a piece of me that says this is being fed to me by the Republican machine.
Yes.
Now, there might be some truth in there,
Yes.
but they have cherry-picked different, and it's the same.
Yes.
It's absolutely the same thing both ways.
It's difficult.
Anyhow, great conversation that I had with Steve. It's a little bit longer. I think it was an hour and 15 minutes. And so, you taking something in like that might be better equipped if you go to our Spotify or the iTunes or however it is that you take in podcasts. And so then you can listen to that as you're going about your day. Anyhow, more of those episodes are going to be coming, and just watch for that. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with LeGrand Public Works Director Kyle Carpenter. All right, we are back with Kyle Carpenter, LeGrand Public Works Director. How are you, man?
Doing good. We got the crews throwing the blades back on the equipment in case that snowstorm decides to hit that you guys are worried about.
Really?
But
Are they?
no.
No, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, you'd think they would do that if it actually does.
Yeah, no. This year has been pretty low on the snow removal front. So
Yeah.
the crews,
Has there been any in town?
Just we did a lot of spreading of gravel. We had
Yeah.
quite a few weekends where it got a little slick and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did some spread some gravel, sweep it up at the end. But snow removal is kind of a love-hate relationship. They like the overtime, but the
Hours
the
and
public
all that.
scrutiny and the hours it's not the funnest work.
I remember being a kid and Adams having a 5-foot berm in it almost all winter. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy the lack of snow that comes here now. It's weird.
Yeah, it's been years. I would say probably 3 or 4 years since we've seen a really good snowstorm where we even had to go down and pick up the
crazy.
snow from plowing it in the middle. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. No
I
big
guess
effort.
it saves money.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's money not spent, and the way that budget works is it just rolls over into next year.
Right.
So really, what we're doing is we're rededicating some of those unspent funds toward like stormwater and flood, those kind of things. So, money not spent just helps us in future years.
Yeah.
So you and I have had lots of conversations about the departments that you're in, but for people that are not familiar with you, tell them what the Public Works Director does in those different departments. Yeah.
Sure. So my job is to do the oversight of the administrative function for Public Works, which handles, water, sewer, stormwater, engineering, streets and roads, and the stuff that's included with that, the storm response, We operate the motor pool for the city, which is kind of like our own vehicle rental center. So all of that kind of falls under my umbrella. Not actually having to go out and do the work, although that's a great stress reliever. It's just the administrative function of, making sure the budgeting is correct, making decisions toward, which direction the department is going. So 10,000-foot view.
So vehicle rental, that's kind of interesting. So do you rent your own vehicles too? I mean, how does that, because you buy the gas also, fuel, right?
Correct.
I mean, I don't know, just talk about that a little bit.
So the motor pool department is a way that the city can have the equipment on hand when we need it. So snow removal is a perfect example. If we had to go out and be ready to rent all of the equipment that we utilize during a snow removal event, that's 3 motor graders, 6 trucks with plows on the front, multiple backhoes, multiple truck plows, pickup truck plows. We're not guaranteed they're going to be available. The funny thing about the rental market is when you need it, everybody else needs it too.
Yeah, right.
So what the city did was we kind of constructed internally our own little rental center. So what happens is the motor pool department will purchase the vehicles and then it rents it back to the different divisions based on usage. So it's a model that's used, in a lot of places across the country. It's our way of making sure the equipment's available when needed and having good quality equipment, while also not blowing budgets up. So we try and stay competitive with local rental markets. We have to keep mechanics on hand, so I can't always promise we're going to be, right down to the dollar that we could go down to Eastern Oregon Rentals and rent a piece of equipment. But we like to try and stay competitive, but have the flexibility of, hey, we need to put it in the yard now, we go.
And one of the things that I've heard discussions several different times actually of different people, because they're critical of well, why do you have to have the newest pickup, or why do you have to have a brand new piece of equipment that you only use a few times a year? I mean, which, from a small business standpoint, I totally understand. I mean, the vehicles that I drive, they're just crap. I mean, because part of it is because it's my vehicle. If it breaks down, now, if it's a vehicle that Kyle is using or somebody else is using, and then they're using that on a regular basis, it has to be reliable. Anyhow, so just talk about the different mind shift that people have there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know a lot of people get a look under the hood of how we really run our motor pool. So, when we're running our own little vehicle rental center, we're tracking operation and maintenance costs, fuel costs, replacement costs. So in that rental rate that we establish for each of the vehicles, there's a little chunk for each of those. And as we track through the lifespan of the vehicle, once the operation and maintenance becomes greater than what a new rig is going to bring us, generally, most trucks we hold on to for 150, 200,000 miles, and it'll go through different phases. It's a daily driver down to the motor pool, which is just I call them the Gen Pop rigs. So whenever somebody needs one, they can pop out into the yard, and we have a handful of those for larger jobs when we send out crews. But we track the lifespan of the vehicle, and at a certain point, the maintenance of that vehicle outweighs the cost of a new one, and that's when we're making those decisions to buy new vehicles. When it comes to equipment, different point of view. We actually utilize a similar point of view to what you're talking about. We go out and we look for used equipment, previously leased equipment. We're looking for value over new vehicles.
Yeah.
So.
What about, like the daily driver, for instance, right? Like certain jobs, they got to have a vehicle all the time. How many miles is one of those getting a year, roughly? Just an estimate.
Depending on the crew, I think we have a sewer collections rig that runs around 60 to 70,000 a year.
And that's the highest, the high end?
That's one of the higher end ones, yeah.
That's
Which is amazing because it never leaves town. But
right.
You're like, these guys are cruising all day long.
Constantly checking different things.
Checking manholes, checking the lift stations, running to jobs, running back for parts. The rigs are on the move quite often.
And those are hard miles because they're town miles. Those aren't
Correct.
freeway miles.
Yeah, you might get some freeway miles when we go to training or things like that, but generally we have travel cars, so unless we got a large amount of people heading out of town, those ones usually stay here.
Gotcha.
So recently, let's zoom in just a little bit further. So recently, seems like I was at a city council meeting and you guys are buying a new sewer sucker truck.
Oh, yeah,
Is that what it is?
truck.
Yeah. And I mean, and talk about the decision. You have one of those,
We do.
and so help me understand how you decide to update that.
Sure. So that was our sewer vac truck, which is used for multiple things. One, we utilize it for cleaning out our sewer mains.
Okay.
The other one is it can be used for vacuum excavation. So instead of using a backhoe, you use pressurized water to knock down the dirt, and then the vac sucks it out. So when you're working around other utilities like gas lines, electrical lines, rather than having to have a skilled operator who can really, fine tooth the hole, you can just vac it out and have a lot lower chance that you're going to rupture any other utilities. So our existing truck is about 20 years old. It's becoming really hard to find parts. There's multiple motors, pumps. So usually the process starts with our mechanic talking about, hey, the maintenance is getting pretty high on this one. We're having a hard time finding parts. The other one on this one, because this one was not a planned purchase, we had to actually reallocate funds in some budgets to get this vehicle purchased. We had a salesperson who came in and said, hey, we have this demonstration rig that basically meets all of your needs, and we'll give you $150,000 discount if you want to come and buy it now. So those are some of those, and for scale, one of these vehicles generally runs $650,000, $700,000. So that's a pretty significant discount for us. It's about a 20% off sale. So D&B one day, two times a year sale, whatever it is. So it was just a great opportunity to go in, get a vehicle that needed replaced at a value cost. So,
Well, and then the other side of that is the vehicle that you're replacing is still good and sellable. I mean, you've been using it, so it's functional.
Yep.
And so then there's a market for other plumbers or whatever to be able to purchase that, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. This one we have made the decision to keep it on hold. One of the biggest problems with these vehicles is I can't go to Eastern Oregon Rentals and rent one of these. It's coming out of Boise.
Okay.
According to our DEQ permit, I need to have one of these on hand at all times. So currently, the old one kind of sits as a standby. We're going to see what our reliability on the new one is, how easy it is to get it back up and running if we hit any problems. And then, after we go through kind of, we'll call it a trial period, we'll move on to selling it to that secondary market, like you said.
So when it comes to the maintenance on those vehicles, do we have somebody in-house that works on those? Are
Yeah.
they just regular standard, not standard, but they're diesel engines, I would imagine?
Yeah, they're diesel running engines, and then I believe I'm not sure,
Hydraulic?
they might have gas. They have lots of hydraulic systems. So these each have two motors, one in the front, one in the back that runs the pumps and the vacuums.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we have two mechanics on hand. They do most of the work. I would say it has to be a pretty extensive job when it gets out of their hands, and then we'll call in like Freightliner or some of the larger equipment companies to come out and do some of the work, Caterpillar, things like that.
Now, is that the one that has a big vacuum hose that's going down the manhole in some way, or is that a different? I guess where does the dirt go that you're sucking up? Because and because I've seen those vehicles, I don't know. I don't know. That's just a little mechanical thing. It's like, okay, where does the dirt go and how do you get it out? Yeah.
There's two of them. There's two kind of that you can see rolling around. One's a jetter, and it doesn't have the ability to vacuum. It's strictly a main cleaner, and it has a big hose reel on the front, and it doesn't have that snorkel that comes off the front. The one that we're talking about, the hydro excavator, it has the reel on the front, but it also has that snorkel. So the snorkel is used for the vacuum section, and then the hose reel on the front is for cleaning.
Okay.
So you can really, when you're cleaning a sewer line, you basically go from the lower end up so that you can blow stuff and it flows back down, and you can put the snorkel down and suck it in rather than having those clogs move down further down the line. You can pull them out and it goes into a tank on the truck.
Okay.
And then we take it to the wastewater treatment plant if it's from the sewer, or we take it out to one of our spoil yards if it's just dirt.
Does the hose on the front, is that like a snake type thing, or does it just use water, or does it actually use the hose to root it out?
It's got a nozzle on the front, so they have all these nozzles with different water jets put in different directions so that it can clean in different ways depending on the size of the line.
And it just goes, what, a couple hundred yards, or?
We go about 300 feet real
300
safely.
yards.
Yeah, you don't want to get that thing stuck.
No, I can't. I bet you that would be a
One of the
mess.
problems is you're running with a nozzle on the inside of a clay pipe and you blow a hole in it, it can get locked in there, and then we're digging up the street to get that thing out.
That wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah, yeah,
How fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess let's zoom back out and kind of got the mechanical part of that just fascinates me, and so I guess because when I was a teenager, my dad and I and my older brother, we had a sprinkler system business. I mean, we would install sprinkler systems, and so we would end up putting a line under a sidewalk, or I mean, it's and a lot of that you just kind of figure out. It's like, okay, how are we going to do it? And you just figure it out. And so then when there are machines that somebody is like, let's figure out a way of doing that easier,
Yeah.
then it just kind of becomes interesting.
I have one more question about that. Does it have a camera system?
Separate vehicle.
So you run a camera line and a...
So you'll go through, and the first thing you do is you clean it with either one of those rigs. Make sure you get it cleaned out, and then we have what we call the CCTV inspection van, which is basically a little car with a camera on it, and you just run it up the main and do inspections. So
And it shows you, is it infrared, or how or do you have to actually run a camera down?
Oh, you got a camera on the end of it's basically like a high-tech RC car that has a cable that runs out one side.
Yeah.
You run it up in
When
between.
do I get to try that thing?
You better talk to the other guy. If you flip that thing,
It's
it gets
expensive.
hairy.
Has anybody ever videoed the nozzle that cleans? Like throwing a
Not that I know
Let's
of.
throw GoPro on that thing.
I didn't
check
blow
it
it
out.
off.
It would,
I
Really?
bet it will. There's a lot of pressure in there.
is there?
Yeah. I mean, I remember a few years ago we had this storm line clogged over here in the alley
yeah.
outside, and we came here, and man, that was my first time being on the crew because it was a Friday, and we had a pretty skeleton crew, so I got to go and watch. And man, it was impressive to watch that nozzle go up in there and just
I bet you it is.
drain that alley in a matter of 2 minutes.
It did, yeah. But you have that's on one end. Is it blowing and sucking at the same time, or are you catching it some other place?
So like in that instance, we
Yeah.
knew it was probably just leaves or something that had gotten into the catch basins
Yeah.
and locked it up. So the nozzle goes up, it just shoots whatever that clog is to break it up. In those instances, we just let it flow through the storm system. So once that clog's broken up,
Yeah.
it just gets flushed through the system and taken down and out.
Yeah. Well, and it was kind of critical. I mean, I used your cell number on that particular occasion, I think.
Good day too.
Yeah. So because the water level was almost to the point of where it was going to flow in our back door,
Yeah.
Because right outside the back door, there's a drain there in the alleyway, and that's where it was plugged. So anyhow, so thankful. Thank you
Yes.
for doing that and responding. And yeah, that was the same thing. I'm like, oh crap, it's Friday. The crew is going to be off on the weekend unless it's something urgent, and so it'd be a lot easier for them to come out late Friday afternoon than it would over the weekend. So
Certainly.
Yeah.
But, it should be well known. You still call,
Right.
the 541-962-1325, even with you having those sewer backups,
Yeah.
the storm backups, even on the weekends and at nights. We have a calling service. They have a call-out list. They get a hold of us. We get out there. So, we're not going to leave you hanging.
Right.
We show up on the weekends. We show up in the middle of the night.
because that's when those kind of events happen.
That's the way it works.
All right. Well, okay. So let's just zoom back out. So, so John O'Brien, the new city manager, has been here maybe 10 months now, and John and I have spent a lot of time talking with each other. I would call him a friend, but one of the things that he's really worked on is just kind of pulling off the lid of your operations and all of the operations of LeGrand. Not that any of that was purposefully hidden, but just so people can inject more.
Certainly.
And so then, and you have some things coming up, right? That are give people
Certainly.
an opportunity to I don't know, just talk about that process a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, John has a passion for community outreach. I mean, it's really big. And shameless plug, he did want me to mention that this week is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. A week to honor our 911 operators for the hard work that they do. Sometimes called the first responders. They're the ones that tie us into the emergency service in our time of need. So he wanted to make sure that got out there. As for John's outreach, one of the things that, significantly we have problems with the streets, That's it is the single largest complaint in our city, and it's a struggle that we have. His idea is to really pull the public into the decision-making process there, be transparent, and make it, a collaborative effort to come to a solution. First part of that is, I don't think there's any convincing that needs to be done that there is an issue that's actively being worked on. That piece, I think some people accept, others don't. But making ourselves available in a format where questions can be asked, they can hear the answers, they can dig in deep, ask those hard questions. So those formats are one, the town hall. So we have a town hall coming up next Wednesday, the 22nd at 6 o'clock, EOU Huber Auditorium. Prior to that, on the 21st, we have the other forums that John has really introduced, which is the roundtable. The roundtable is kind of like a no agenda discussion of whoever shows up. So on the 21st, I believe it's 1 to 3 at La Baby Cakes across the road here. It's just kind of I won't call it completely casual setting because, the spotlight is on John and myself to, respond to the questions. No holds barred, come in, ask the questions, and see if we can start a conversation of how do we move forward with solving the current problem and the future of the roads system. A lot of that discussion has lately been wrapped around the proposed gas tax.
And those roundtables are department specific, right? So, they have been. So then this roundtable is for Public Works, where there might be another roundtable that's talking about park and recreation and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so this one, I would say they're topic oriented, which is the same
Okay.
thing you're saying. Generally, I won't get questions on the water or sewer system or any of those others. We'll focus on the topic of streets and roads and the different avenues we have moving forward. Some of the other examples are, I think they have a mobility trouble awareness day challenged by, I think it was Dr. D, who, come and live a day in a wheelchair, seeing if you can get around. There's another one to engage the community in the discussion of the future generations and how we can work together with the different points of view that they all have. I think those are coming up in May. So those are the main focus so far. Streets and roads has really been the forefront just because there's an emphasis being placed due to needing to have decisions made before August.
Okay. And what happens in August?
So in August, a lot of people, hear the word gas tax and they're like, the city's just forcing it down our throats. And I really need to push forward what the intent of what we're doing right now. So we all agree there's a problem. We all hopefully can agree what the solution is, and the solution is not attainable with the amount of funding that we have. This isn't a LeGrand problem. This is a national problem for municipalities, for states. It's just getting really expensive to maintain these roadways. And so John's approach isn't, hey, let's force something to get more funding, because there are mechanisms in place in which we can do that, but let's pull the community into a collaborative effort and try and elect the best way forward. I think he always believes that with buy-in and hearing their voice, that it'll be an easier process moving forward, and that those discussions can be more fruitful rather than feeling as though it's us against them. One of the things that we've really pushed on the roundtables is this is not a city versus citizen problem. This is us as a LeGrand community against the problem with our streets problem, and we really need to work together to figure out what does that path forward look like. We're fully expecting you can get the answer. We don't want to pay any more tax. We don't want to pay you any more money. Just make it work, and that's fine. That's one of the options. But with that comes the consequences of having to live with potholes and the maintenance levels that we're able to provide with the resources we have.
Okay, so right now, on water bills, and and I'm just going to state this so that people understand. So then, the wells and the sewer system is owned by the city of LeGrand. That sewer system and that wastewater system is owned by LeGrand out by Flying J, but it also services Island City.
Correct.
They own they own the stuff in the ground, but they're emptying and I live out in Island City, and so then when I get a bill for our sewer and water, okay, then the water is the water in Island City is coming from Island City wells. The wastewater is going into the city of LeGrand, okay?
Correct.
And so then, and when you get a bill, that's broken out separately. It doesn't matter if it's in LeGrand or Island City, okay? But when compared to a city of LeGrand resident, my sewer bill is twice as much as what it would be for Island City. I mean, I think that's what it is, somewhere around that. And the reason is because Island City doesn't own the sewer system. And so anyhow, the point of this is that for the city of LeGrand people, along with those two bills, there's a street user fee, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so help me understand where the street user fee, what it has done in the past, and why it's inadequate to do what it is that you need to do.
So the street user fee was a fee that they set up, I think in the 90s. And basically its intent was to provide additional monies for major maintenance on roadways. So when you look at the maintenance of roadways, it's broken up into different categories based on, some some financial terms that we utilize in our audit. So a minor maintenance are things like a chip seal or crack seal or fog seal. We break into major maintenance when we're looking at a 2-inch overlay or greater. So that's your grinding inlays, your overlays, rebuilds, all of those things. So when you look at the street user fee, we can only use those for overlays, and then the way that it was written back in the day, it was for fully Class 1 roads, which is a definition that was set forth in the land use plan, which means you have to have curbs, sidewalks, storm system. So that in itself limits me pretty greatly to what I can use it for. Basically, south side of town, really bad roads. The hard part with that is most of our worst roads, north side of town. I mean, these are all roads that have never actually been paved. Most of them have seen chip seal, and they now have more asphalt from potholing than they do chip seal. They're just in really sad shape. So it's limited the flexibility of how we can move, and so we've been using it for things like our rebuild on 2nd Street. We started down here at Adams, and we've been moving up the hill toward the reservoirs. It has a 100-year-old steel main line that's been in there, and everybody is really kind of, just crossing their fingers every night that we don't break a steel main line overnight, because it's an 18-incher, so it's a monster. It drained half the city in a pretty quick amount of time. That is one of the mechanisms we have at hand. I mean, really to raise that and put more to bear on the citizens would just take a vote of the council. And, in the discussions that we've had, it's been kind of, that's not our intent. We don't want to just, continue to, pull from an already bleeding corpse.
When you
Bad example, but I think that's how a lot of people feel right now. I got nothing left.
Yeah.
when you say north side of town, where's the break point?
We use the railroad tracks.
But Jefferson is one of the worst roads in town.
Yeah, and let me get the truth out there for Jefferson, okay?
Yeah.
Jefferson's terrible.
We had Jefferson on the list to be dealt with a few years ago, but we had a lot of economic development stuff happening on Jefferson. We had, what Timothy, our economic development director, says was a, once in a generational chance at turning Jefferson into something more than, a truck route. Turning it into, more of the downtown area, an extension with shops and restaurants and things like that, just because of the number of properties that we're turning over. With that coming up, we didn't want to go through, pave the thing, and then have it change classification of what its use was, and then have to come and rip up new pavement within the 5 years. So as we've progressed through the last few years, we've seen where some of that foothold's taking place with some of the new developments of, the train station restaurant, the new winery. Other sections have not made much of a jump, but it's getting to the point where something has to be done. So we're really kind of targeting sections of Jefferson maybe within the next year of trying to get some fixes done on there.
That would be good, because I mean, it feels like people would use it more. I think if it, and it would kind of because sometimes not very often, but sometimes downtown gets kind of clogged up, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And that Jefferson route is pretty key for a lot of people, especially when there's something going on downtown, or if there's anything,
Or if you're heading to the north side and a train's across the tracks, you got to hook
Absolutely.
left
You got
real
to
fast.
shoot and go down to the viaduct and go over. Yeah.
Now you got to think about it because you're like, is it waiting or potholes? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think, do I want a headache today
Well-
from hitting my head on this unit?
Yeah. Well, and every time I come from Island City, and come to the studio, I'm making that. I mean, it's either I'm making a choice between those three streets, and yeah, I mean, just subconsciously, I'm thinking about like, well, yeah, Jefferson's it's not as smooth of a ride, and by the time I get over there, I mean, so then I'm constantly, well, do I deal with the slowness of the lights going right down Adams Avenue, or do I jump over and then have to come back,
I use Washington myself.
Yeah. Do you?
Washington's a good one.
All the time.
I like Washington.
But I also grew up on that street. It's got my heart.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I think the best comparison I can kind of give is to how streets end up like Jefferson is I think if you're paying attention to what's happening on the state level with ODOT's funding levels, is you're starting to see that they've gotten to a point in their funding levels where they're cutting services. So you're seeing things like they're no longer going to be painting fog lines every year. They're no longer going to be paving roads. They're going to be doing a lot more chip sealing. Those are decisions we had to make 5 years ago. And so we had to start saying, we're continually dumping 80% of our maintenance dollars into 20% of our streets that have just already failed, but we're trying to patch them together. And there was a point where we just had to say, you know what, that 80% of our dollars can be used better fixing one of those sections rather than trying to just hold together an already failed road. So the downside of that is we got a lot of bad roads, but the upside is that, we're climbing a hill to where at some point we're going to crest. We don't know if that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but we'll crest, and we've actually built roads that are meant to last rather than just patching together a bunch of, gravel.
Is Jefferson a state road because it's a truck route?
It's not a designated truck route anymore. They
Oh,
pulled
it's
that
not.
years
Oh,
ago.
okay.
There's been some talk about trying to reestablish it as a truck route and get the semis out of downtown. There's just a lot of...
So Adams is the truck route now?
There's no designated one, but it is the state highway, and there's no limitation on trucks being through
That's why
Adams.
you see those yahoos coming off an island trying to get onto Adams and scraping the corner and
Yeah, and they have, I just had heard from ODOT that they have a redesign of that island Adams in the works for probably 28.
to get rid of that issue.
Fix those turn issues. That's
big
really,
time turn, yeah.
when you look at the truck route, it used to start over there on Hemlock next to the Chevron.
Yep.
And it would pop out next to Sorbonauts on 3rd.
Yeah, it was always marked. I guess I haven't seen those signs, so that makes sense.
So the trucks that are on the roads today have a larger turning radius, and so the corners really aren't built for those size trucks.
Right.
So you're going to get a lot of curb drag in and breaking up the ramps. So when we look at establishing a truck route, you have to do those studies to figure out, where do we need to redo these corners to make that truck route viable.
I mean, it's entertainment.
It is.
It's kind of entertainment.
Well,
You break one of those ramps, that's 30 grand. It's not
That's
entertainment
not
for me.
that part's not, but for like a demented mind, it's like, oh, this is kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and years ago I had a CDL, and the very first time I was driving a tractor trailer and I only did it once to try and make a right-hand turn off of Island Avenue onto Adams, right there. That you just only make that mistake once.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you just like, oh crap, this is the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to drive one of those big rigs every once in a while just so that you get that, we'll call it a sympathetic heart with the guys who have to drive them.
Yeah.
Because, man, ever since driving dump trucks, you kind of look at them and go, I know why you did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it for a little while, and thankfully, I just had to go from the beer distributor to Baker. I didn't ever have to come this way, so I never had to worry about downtown, man. But downtown Baker's kind of gnarly too. Like
100%.
there's some weird turns and some places you got to get a big truck into that are not very big.
Yeah, a little hairy.
So talk to me for a minute and explain to me about why the state of Oregon is changing out these ramps on curbs, on corners. I mean, they came through and changed them, and then there was a suit, and I don't know, explain that to me, and then kind of filter that down to us, because this summer, there's a bunch of that's going to happen, right, in our downtown. So
Yeah, so we have a project coming in this summer and the summer of '27 that will handle the majority of the ADA ramps through downtown. So most of the ramps downtown that have been redone were done through our projects internally with the city of LeGrand that we funded through what's that little zone we have down there?
yeah,
Anyway, urban renewal, I don't know, urban
Yeah,
renewal
yeah.
zone, something like that. Anyway, we designed those projects in-house. We did those ADA ramps to federal standards. Somewhere between doing those projects and I think somewhere around 2019, 2020, there was a lawsuit filed back in Portland against the state of Oregon for ADA access along highway routes. So the state settled in that suit. They changed the standards to twice that of the federal standard and agreed to replace all ramps bordering state highways by 2035. So there's been an immense amount of money invested into ADA ramps along these roadways. They're going to come through and take out all the ones that don't meet the new Oregon spec. They're going to replace them. And that's been happening in communities all over the state.
Didn't that already start? Do we have any?
We did. We ran a pilot program with ODOT
Oh,
because
yeah.
we have some internal, we have internal people who can do the designs in the contract administration. And so ODOT had us do the design. They approved them. Then we put it out for bid. We came in with a little bit better pricing than they did. And so they let us execute the project and they funded it.
What ramps were those? If I remember right.
You got some
Right by
around,
the Chevron.
We did the ones around from Chevron up to Fur.
That's right.
So right in those areas. So around US Bank and Wells Fargo.
So they won't have to be redone.
Those ones won't. Those
Oh,
I
that's
think we
good.
did
A little
15 under
Head
that
start
contract.
on it, right?
Yeah.
but like this, so the design of all of that and how that's done, you're just trying to do the specs, or is somebody else, is the state giving you that information? And let me tell you why. So like, as you know, I mean, there's some of those curbs that have been redone in the last couple of years, and there's like this island that sticks up. And it's like, I mean, it's a trip hazard. When doing snow, it's totally impractical. I mean, how in the world does that happen? I mean, explain that to me.
Yeah, the plow drivers love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the state writes their own specs. They come through the Department of Transportation. They set their standards, and basically when you're doing the design, you meet those design. They have a design and a construction standard. So you design it to a certain level, and then it has to be constructed to another. Basically, that accommodates working with concrete. If you've ever worked with concrete, I mean, trying to pull a 2% slope, you got to be pretty talented to be right in there. It's not as easy as,
Right.
mill and still or something. And so the way the projects work now, the state hires their own consultant who goes through and does all of the engineering work, and then they let the contract, and then the contractor comes in and ODOT oversees the contract administration and inspection of those ramps afterwards. On our project that we did internally, just to kind of give you an idea of how tight those specs are, you would pour the ramp, and then you'd want the inspector there later that day or early the next
Yeah,
morning.
because it settles or does whatever.
We found that a ramp can fall out of spec from the morning to the afternoon depending on how long the sun
Oh,
is out.
wow.
I mean, they're tight. And the way that the state has bid these contracts is they call them kind of design build. If you build it and it doesn't meet the specs, you're tearing it out on your dollar and putting it back until you can make it work. So contractors have had, a rough time and a steep learning curve on how to bid these projects and get them done successfully.
It's got to be hard to find contractors willing to do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's pretty specific, and it's like if I was a contractor, I would want to take jobs that were not necessarily easier, but you know what I mean. Like I wouldn't want to have to say, okay, I'll get it within 2% guaranteed, or we'll redo it.
Yeah.
Then you lose money.
Yeah. And that liability shows up in the cost. So, I referenced, you run over an Adams Avenue ramp, that's $30,000. In the city outside, we can still, we can choose to adopt the state or the federal standards to meet ADA requirements. And so we generally use federal, which are a little more lenient, and we generally get ramps for around $4,000.
Oh wow, that's
So
a
when
big
you
deal.
run over a ramp, what do you mean? Like if
If you drag the back end of your semi-trailer
And it
over a
damages
ramp
it?
Yeah,
and it cracks
takes
it,
a big old
got
chunk
it, got
out.
it,
or-
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
If the sun can pull them out of conformance, the big old crack down the middle of them You basically need anything more than a 1/4-inch lip, and it's out of conformance with
Right.
the ADA standards of Oregon.
And then how long do you have to replace that as a city?
Those ones, I've never really looked into how long that anybody's really going to police me.
Right.
I would guess it would be more complaint based. That if you get a complaint about it causing problems and you don't respond,
You better
then
get on it, yeah.
it would kick up something.
Gotcha. Because then they can sue. I mean, they can take it to.
They can go farther. Later in the timeline, you saw that same group who had sued the state was starting to target some of the larger cities like Portland and Salem and Eugene. So I don't imagine they're going to get down to the lower ends of LeGrand, but it's a possibility.
It could happen, yeah.
It's something you keep your eyes on, and so you walk the line very tightly from like we have an upcoming project in front of the high school on 2nd, where we're going to go from K to H and continue the replacement of that water line and redo the road. And with that, we replace ramps as we go, because that is our ability to show that our effort to increase the mobility for pedestrians and ADA compliance is happening in LeGrand.
So, man, there's just so much of what you deal with on an everyday basis. So the state highway, Adams Avenue, is a state highway.
Correct.
So the actual pavement, all of that, the concrete, that's state, right?
Correct.
Okay. And right now, we have the crosswalks are made out of brick.
Yep.
And they're wearing differently. I mean, just kind of talk about what's the plan for that. And I know that a lot of this is outside of your purview, but I don't talk about that a little bit.
Well, so back in '85, when we redid Adams, and the city's infinite wisdom, we thought, hey, let's delineate those crosswalks so they're really visible. And so the city decided to choose to use a colored concrete in the crosswalks. By doing so, we agreed with the state that we would take on maintenance responsibility of the crosswalks.
Oh.
Yeah, which has been great.
Yeah. Well, how did you do that?
Yeah, so the functionality of Adams, in pavement design, when you do a concrete road, your design expectancy is generally 40 years. And so, we hit that last year. So we've hit 40 years with the concrete pavement on Adams Avenue. With the ADA ramp projects, ODOT hasn't had as much money to focus in on those projects. I know in 2019, we were on the schedule for what they call a profile grind on Adams, where they come in and they'll bring the concrete down to take out all of those ruts that have formed, and then white top it with new concrete so that we basically get, a new road. And I think it was around a $1.5 million scoped project. But the ADA ramps hit, that project fell off what they call the STIP, which is the State Capital Improvement Project list. So we've been pushing pretty hard to try and get back on that list. Recently, there's a group here that is the Northeast Area Committee on Transportation, NEACT, and they get together and they actually get an opportunity to pull together projects from the region that we're suggesting to the Transportation Committee that oversees ODOT and makes recommendations for their capital improvement project. And so we threw, an island Adams with all of these ADA improvements coming. We're like, hey, it's great that our sidewalks are ADA, but those ruts are no longer ADA. So you can't get across the road on a wheelchair, but you could get on the sidewalk. And so they did actually include Adams Avenue project resurfacing as one of the suggested from NEACT to the Transportation Commission. So we have hope that maybe something will come along. That STIP is probably, I think it's the 2831 STIP, something like that. So it's still a ways out, but it's an option. So when you look at jurisdiction, the state is curb face to curb face. The city is behind the curb face. So, there's also the piece of it that we're actually really grateful we're not having to pay for all of these ramps. The state stepped up. They're taking care of these ramps, even though they do fall under the city's jurisdiction.
Oh,
So then,
that's good.
So then what went wrong with the concrete, the colored concrete versus the regular concrete? Why is it wearing differently?
Likely it was just a little bit different of a mix. Lower PSI, less cement in the mix, or lower brake strength.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see it wear a little bit faster than the gray concrete did.
Yeah. So then your crews are having, I see a little asphalt here and there kind of filling in trip hazards or whatever that is. Yeah.
You know, and I can't complain. The local ODOT Region 5, they work very well.
Well,
with us.
they're doing that.
They do that sometimes. We'll do that whenever we see them. You know, we do a lot of back and forth of, you know, just trying to help each other out where we can.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's short on funds, so if you're standing right there and you got the mix, why not just fill the hole?
As you should.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, it's the same idea that, you know, we've just been talking about that John's trying to push as a community is there's some collaboration there. And, you know, we're not sitting back here taking notes about what we're owed or anything like that between organizations, but they've jumped in and helped us on a lot of things, and we try and jump in wherever possible to help them out wherever we can.
yeah, for sure.
So let's go back to we're going to have to quit here in a minute. Let's go back to the gas tax real quick.
Okay.
So then tell me, so the street user fee, why has that not been enough?
Sure. So the street user fee generates about $410,000 a year.
Okay.
State gas tax generates roughly around $1 million. It goes up and down depending on how many people are driving over the course of the year in the state of Oregon and buying fuel here. When you look at the costs associated with our transportation system, one of the numbers that you and I have talked about before is what is our transportation system worth? And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So when you're looking at just overlaying a block of roadway, you're anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 depending on the roadway width and where you are in town. When you start adding that up, 10 blocks out of 900,
20 to 30,000 per what?
per block,
Okay,
to
okay,
do an
so-
overlay.
okay, got it,
So
sorry.
there's, I believe there's roughly around 950 blocks of roadway in the city of LeGrand currently that we are administratively responsible for. So when you say, looking at, and you have to look at what that state gas tax money covers. That's your street lights, that's your striping, that's paying for the crews and the equipment. So it's kind of covering your administrative cost of the transportation department, and also helping with some of the minor maintenance stuff. But when we're talking about these roads that are needing major overhauls, there's limited income streams that we have currently, one being the street user fee. So taking that one alone, $410,000, we'll say $25,000 per block, so you're looking at 16 blocks. 916 is a
Right.
drop in the bucket.
Right.
Ideally, 40 years for a concrete street, a design life on an asphalt street is 20. So 410, we'll even say if you double it, I'm not getting back to your street in 20 years. It's just not going to happen. Right. So the problem we have, as we talked about before, if you already have a street that's failed, and I should be there today, but I'm not going to be there for another 15 years, we got to figure out something.
Yeah.
This is not maintainable for the long term.
And David Glabe gave at, I think, the city council meeting before this, he gave a really good explanation of like the potential gas tax is going to be less than $50 per year. I mean, do you have an estimate per family or per person? I'm trying to remember.
So the way that
it's not very much is the point. Yeah.
Yeah, the way David broke it down is he kind of said if you have, a vehicle that gets 25 miles to the gallon and you drive 15,000 miles a year and you do the math, what we're kind of looking at is a 3 cents gas tax because it's impactful, but it's also impactful on the other side for our maintenance dollars. And I think he ended up with around $20 a year. Now, on the other side, when we start talking about the other options, the street user fee, I think we're currently at $8 a month per meter. So when you're looking at how long increasing that street user fee on your average citizen is going to take a hit, you're talking you're going to over that in 3 months. In 1/4 of the year, you're going to surpass the impact on your family with increasing the street user fee than you would with a gas tax. And so I think the idea is getting that math knowledge out there to
Right.
say let's really look at we're concerned about the impact on your budget, so let's try and target the best options if we want to do something. So that's kind of where the city's coming forward and saying our analysis says this is the way, because not only is it a less impact on your dollars, but the dollars we're receiving are going to be funded also by outside drivers. So that's not just our city people. That's anybody who's rolling through town that stops at our gas station will be paying our gas tax that stays here. The state gas tax that's proposed that will go to vote here in the next month or so at 6 cents a gallon, the funding breakdown is a lot different. We did the math, and I think increasing a local gas tax at 1 cent was twice as much as what we would see with that 6 cents increase on the state level.
Interesting. All right. Well, and I think that, it seems so small. 30 bucks a year, 50 bucks a year. And it's interesting that, my first thought is like, wow, that is so minute. Is it really going to make a difference? But because even if it was 30 bucks a month, people are spending 30 bucks on coffee per week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow.
Some.
Yeah. Well, anyhow. And so one more time, shout out to the roundtable that you're having.
Yep. Roundtable. Next one is April 21st, next Tuesday at La Baby Cakes, 1 to 3. They have some following up on April 30th, and there's a date in May as well. You can find them on the Facebook page for the city manager.
Okay.
Second shameless plug if we have time.
Yeah.
City launched a new app yesterday. So April 15, available on the Apple Store, and I'm not sure what
Play Store,
I'm
Android.
not sure what those Android people use. So
They use their brains.
Yeah.
it's really unsecure. Everybody knows your thoughts. Basically, what it is it's our LeGrand. It's kind of a place that someone can go if they want to get push notifications of things coming up like street closures, and kind of a place where if you see something like a down street sign or it is not for intended purposes of reporting to 911. It doesn't take the place of 911. It says so explicitly on the app. But, if you're seeing something that is, low priority, you can report it on the app, and it has direct communication directly with city staff. So it has some uses. It'll have the announcements of upcoming events. So you can find it on the Play Store. So
Cool. Yeah. And like if somebody has a street light out.
Perfect
It's
use.
blinking. Yeah.
perfect use.
Yeah. And so that message eventually will get to your area and will go on a list. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, thank you. Thanks for being here, and always an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Thanks. No.
Thanks.
All right. You want to get us out of here?
Yeah, speaking of April 21st,
Yeah.
which is this coming Tuesday, Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, 5:30 right here live on EOA Live. Should be a good one.
Yeah.
He's going to get a guest. He hasn't told me who yet. So as soon as I know, we'll put some information out about who the guest is going to be. On this day, April 16th, 1861, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln outlaws business with the Confederate States. 1940 on this day, Cleveland Indian pitcher Bob Feller hurls the first and only opening day no-hitter in Major League Baseball history. 2018 on this day, Kendrick Lamar is the first rapper and non-classical or jazz musician to win the Pulitzer Prize for Music with his album Damn. 2025, a juvenile colossal squid is filmed in its natural environment at just under 2,000 feet deep for the first time since its discovery in 1925. The number one movie in America on this day 20 years ago is Scary Movie 4. Not the best scary movie. I think 2's the best one, but that's pretty funny. I love parody and spoof movies. The quote of the day comes from Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. One more time. It always seems impossible until it's done.
All right. Thanks,
Good.
Kyle.
Thank you.
Yeah. And appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Thanks, you guys. We'll talk to you soon.